Hey, what's going on? Mike Marin here, and welcome back, and welcome to this training called Zero Resistance Prospecting. So, what is the difference between an entrepreneur who is always losing money and an entrepreneur that always has money? The answer, it's their ability to generate leads and close sales on demand. Now, every business, like we talked about, is leads, sales, service. It's a very, very simple framework. And if you work this out logically, right? Like let's say that I want to mow lawns, right? And I learn how to mow lawns. I don't get to actually be in the lawn mowing business until I make a sale, aka the exchange, which is the key to prosperity. And I don't get to make that exchange until I have a prospect, aka a lead in front of me that has the ability, that has the money, right, to exchange. So same thing. If you want to be a personal trainer, right? If you want to be a dentist, you don't get, once you learn how to do teeth, right? You still have to make the sale of money exchanging hands. Then you perform the service. And in order to have money change hands, you need a lead in front of you. So the entrepreneurs that are the best at delivering a service are not always the ones that make the most money, right? And it's a harsh reality. It's a reason why, psychologists are all mad at Dr. Phil that he makes more money than him. It's the reason why people that did, neurolinguistic programming were all mad at Tony Robbins because they're like, I'm better at doing neurolinguistic programming. There's a lot of chiropractors that are great at chiropractic, but they don't make as much money as a guy that is not as good at the service, because at the end of the day, it is generating leads, which is marketing or prospecting, and making sales, which is what brings in the money, especially in these businesses where you don't know how good the service is until after you've experienced it. So that's the difference, especially in a cash flow business, between an entrepreneur that always has money and one that is, struggling to make money. So, by now, you should have gone through the trainings and you have some skills now. You have a bag of tricks. You have the ability to use AI in order to get results. And what you want to do is you want to keep practicing. If you need to, work for free, but it's really time for imperfect action, because knowledge is not power. Knowledge is potential power, and knowledge applied is power. And the thing that is going to make you successful as an entrepreneur is the ability to take action when you don't feel super confident, when you don't have all the information lined up. So key to this, start to take imperfect action and move. Now, what is prospecting? I just pulled up the dictionary definition. So prospecting really comes from gold mining, right? And it's really to search for mineral deposits in a place, especially by means of experimental drilling and excavation, right? It's to look out for, it's to search for. And the parallels between sales prospecting and the gold mine are very, very good, because essentially what we're doing, right? And we'll cover sales in the next training and in the modules coming up, and how it's not a dirty word. And if you're, a lot of people have negative connotations. With us, we're really just going out there and helping. So, but when it comes to prospecting, right? It's the parallels are there. Like not every, place you prospect for is going to get you good prospects. There's a good analogy of like the gumball machine, right? There's green gumballs in there. If you remember the big gumball machines, you put a quarter in and you turn it, right? If you got a red one, you keep going. If you got a red one, you keep going, and you keep going until you get the flavor that you want. And that's kind of the way prospecting works, right? You're going out there, you're searching. Now there's ways to do it non-productively and not very smart, and there's ways to increase your chances of success, right? Just like if you ever watch the show Gold Rush, it's like drill holes, right? And also they look at the minerals and they see like, where could the vein of gold be? Same thing for us. Like there are different veins that are going to be more productive, and we're going to cover 7 of them to start. And it's not cold prospecting, which is where most people start. So what's the goal of prospecting? Very simple. The goal of prospecting is to get appointments with the right people at the right time for the right reasons. And it's really all about having meaningful conversations that can lead to actual business. So it's understanding that the exchange is the key to making money. It's the key to prosperity, and it's getting in front of the right people at the right time for the right reasons. So 3 musts of prospecting now. Number 1 is sincerity and wanting to help. If you don't want to change lives, then don't start prospecting because you're in it for the wrong reasons. These are really the three musts of business too, by the way. So you really have to be willing to help, and we'll cover the law of influence when we get into sales. But if you're out there like me, I, that's very needy energy, and it's not going to work for prospecting, and it's not going to work for business, right? Number two is, if you don't get results, don't start prospecting. Like, keep studying until you know how to get results. If you have not watched the previous training, some people like to skip right to the sales part and like, how do we make the money, right? You got to have something to sell, right? So, and it has to be good. So go back, learn from the prior trainings here, because you can only sell crap once. Now, big caveat, right? And again, don't start a business if you can't get results. Keep studying. Work for free. You could, like, I know this is against what most people will tell you, but get a job in the right field where you can learn on the job, right? You don't have to do that nowadays oftentimes, but it is an option, right? But really, you could use these to get a job with marketing, with AI, right? So keep studying until you know how to get results, right? Because you could only sell crap once. And caveat, don't use this as an excuse never to get started. So I've said this to people, and people, once you've studied, once you've put in the time, once you can produce emails, you can produce ads, you could produce content, don't use that as an excuse to buy the next course and keep going and keep going and keep going. Like, get out there and apply it, because you having a bunch of knowledge in your head and you've studied like crazy, but not going out there and taking imperfect action and actually helping people, which is number one, you're not going to make any money either. Number three, then, it's knowing your numbers, right? You got to know your numbers. So let me just go back and address that elephant in the room, right? And I made this with AI pretty good, right? The elephant in the old prospecting room. So if you're brand new, right? A lot of people watching this are brand new. Here's the three things you got to keep in mind if you're brand new, right? Number one, you will not mess this up if you tell them that you're brand new and you let them know that you're just getting started out. The only way that you can mess this up if you get a client and make them very unhappy is if you mislead them and set your expectations. If you're brand new, set the expectations that you are brand new, but here's the three things. Go in knowing that you will bust your butt, right? Number two, knowing that you will be resourceful. And number three, knowing that you will do everything in your power to help them, right? You have the ability. Like, you have to go in this knowing, like, whatever it takes, I'm going to help them get a result. And in my experience, I have never had a client upset with me, even when things didn't pan out, when they can see that I am 100% behind getting them results. And I haven't misled them throughout the sales process, which you never want to do. You don't need to. You don't have to. You don't need to be manipulative, pushy in sales. Like, we're going to cover the help-based selling system coming up. But really, if you're brand new, we don't want to use that once you've studied, right? There's brand new and never studied. Study, right? You got to learn the skill. You got to practice a bit here. You can't just go out right away. But once you've practiced, once you've studied, there's a book called the first 20 hours. Like, if you've done more than 20 hours of studying, you're ready, right? It's like 0 to 20 hours you make in most fields, you make big improvements. It's not the 10,000 hour rule. It's like the 20-hour rule, where if you put 20 hours of dedicated study and practice in, you will learn most skills. You will learn the basics of most things so that you could go out there and actually help people. So once you have those 20 hours in, like, you could do it with less than that, right? But really, it's probably about that 20 hour, right? If it was easy, everyone would do it, right? We want stuff that's a bit hard. Once you've got that 20 hours and you're still new, right? Set the expectations. Don't use that as an excuse never to get out there and to never start helping anybody, okay? So start with the math, right? We always want to have our goal in mind. Our goal is meaningful conversations, but every income, right? We're prospecting really to bring in money. And every income problem you have is really just a math problem. So you always want to figure out, what is the math? And you need to understand whether this is a side hustle, whether you're doing this part-time, like, how much money do you want to make? Or if you're going to go and you want to do this to replace your full-time income, how much money do you need to do that, right? At a minimum level, like, how much do you need to bring in? Is it $5,000 a month? Is it $10,000 a month? And if you currently have a business, you're at 10 grand a month and you want to use this AI stuff to get to 100 grand a month, right? What's the math to do that, right? You always start with the math, right? So let's say it's $5,000 a month, right? And you're like, I want to bring in an extra $5,000 a month. Maybe you want to do this part-time, or maybe you're like, hey, you're in your 20s, $5,000 a month. That's going to cover rent with my roommates. That's everything. And I don't have to go into a crappy 9 to 5, and I'm doing something that I enjoy. I can take a month off here and there, travel the world. Great business for that, by the way. So let's say it's $5,000 a month. One client's $500 a month, right? Let's say you're doing AI email marketing agency or AI content, right? $500 a month is pretty low end for that. So it's $500 a client. That would mean you need 10 clients, right? You could do that just you without any staff, anything, right? With no part-time VA, you literally could do that part-time, 10 clients, $500 a month, right? So put a deadline on it, right? Once you got that, I got to get 10 clients. I'm going to do that in 6 weeks, right? Over the next 6 weeks, your job is, while still at your job, is to find those 6 clients, right? So if you need 10 sales, right, and you close 1 in 5, let's assume 1 in 5. So 1 in 5 meetings you have on Zoom where you sit down and you genuinely try to help them based off of your skill sets, right? Or you're meeting them in person like I did when I first started out. If you're closing 1 in 5, you need 50 leads. If my goal in life is to literally help people, right? You have 250 people around you without any marketing who are willing to help you. I'll cover what that is. It's Joe Girard's 250 law. But it's really then, how do I get those 50 leads? What are the prospecting steps that I need to do to set up these 50 conversations in the next 6 weeks? In the next, let's say you want to get 10 clients in the next 12 months, right? What do you need to do to get those Zoom appointments, to get those prospecting appointments, right? And then once you do that, now we can go into more of the techniques of prospecting. And I call this the triangle of prospecting success, which is really, and if you notice, this is all comes from marketing, right? It's really an adaptation of Dan Kennedy's marketing triangle, which is message, market, media, right? So it's what you say, that's the message, right? The market is who you say it to, and the tools really is the media. Like, how are we going to say our message to them? So I'll start with the tools because it's very, very simple to understand. And again, you got to have the right message via the right tools to the right person, right? So we're going to cover exactly what to say, your scripting, and the who to say it to is very, very important. So let's go to the tools, right? Just as a gold prospector has his tools, he's got a pickaxe, he's got a pan, he's got a shovel. We have our tools, okay? So, and really our tools are our phone, right? Our mouth, a car or a plane if we need to use that to go to events, to drive around town, right? Could be the bus, right? But primarily it's going to be a free, our computer, right? Our social media account. Those are all of our tools, right? And the way that I rank them is in terms of the intimacy ladder, which is a concept which basically says that the higher you're up on the intimacy ladder, the more effective it's going to be and the less skilled you need to be to pull it off. The lower you are on the intimacy ladder, the harder it is to do and the more skilled you need to do to pull it off. And because it's less intimate, that's what a lot of people are more willing to do, right? So like on the top, on the top of we'll start at the bottom, right? This is the least intimate. This is the hardest to do. That would be a direct mail letter, sending that to a cold prospect, right? Again, you don't have any direct feedback, right? Then email, sending an email. People love to send emails instead of actually doing prospecting, right? Let me send an email, right? Again, less intimate, further down the intimacy ladder. It still works really good. However, you got to be more skilled to pull it off. So where I like to start, and this is where I started, this is where I recommend you start if you're brand new, is in person, right? Because you have them in front of you. You can see their you can see what's going on. The next would be Zoom, right? And for a lot of you, that's where it's going to be the bread and butter, because this allows you to do this virtually, right? Everything that I do in my agency, I don't go in person anymore. But if I was just starting out, if I was at zero, I'd go in person again. I used to go to the Boston meetup and the Boston SEO meetup. In Boston, right? I would go to different things on meetings.com. I would go to seminars. I'd go to the Dan Kennedy Info Summit every year. I'd do in person. And I was not very skilled. And that's how I got to my first 6 figures, going around in person, right? I would do Zoom, right? And then there's the phone. Then there's Messenger app, right? Where you're going back and forth. Facebook, Messenger, LinkedIn, Instagram, right? All the different type of messenger apps. Then you got text, right? I'd actually maybe put text above that because sometimes that's a bit more intimate, right? And then email and then mail. So the big concept though is like in person or Zoom face to face with the camera on. Those are going to be your most effective, the most intimate one-on-one in a group setting. Now the who, right? So most people start cold. Like if you look at the majority of like businesses online, other than MLM, which is like, go after friends and family. Most other businesses is like, let's start cold. And this is a massive mistake, right? You really do want to start with people that you know or the rings around you. And this is Joe Girard's law of 250. Joe Girard, if you look him up, he was the Guinness Book. He's got the Guinness Book World Record of the most cars sold by a car salesman. And it's on my other screen here, but basically, the story goes he went to a funeral home, and they were giving out mass cards, and he asked the undertaker, like, how do you know how much of these to print, right? And he said it's a matter of experience. You look in the book where people sign their names, and you count it. After a while, you average 250 people, right? And then he said one day his wife went to a wedding, and they said the average is 250 from the bride's side and 250 from the groom's side is what is the invites go out to them, which I think is a little large, but he's got this whole rule of 250, which is at the end of the day, everybody has 250 people in their influence. So every person you meet has about 250 people that they know, right? Whether that's people they went to high school with, college, friends, family, clubs they're in, businesses that they go to, cousins, right? It's the law of 250. And oftentimes we start there, friends, family, and fools, and then get referred out. And because who's more likely to buy from you? Someone that knows you or someone who's never heard of you? It's like know, like, and trust is actually very important. They're more willing to give you a chance to do stuff. So again, most people have 250. And again, the other who, which we'll see, is businesses who advertise, right? So one of the hardest things to do is to convert quote unquote virgins, right? So it's like if we're selling them business growth type of stuff and they don't invest in business growth, they're like, I just do everything's referrals, everything's word of mouth. I will never pay to get, any online marketing done or any emails. Like those are hard to convert, right? You want the business out there that's actively trying to promote themselves. You're going to have the most success. So we just keep those two facts in mind. Like we want to start with people we know, and we want to go up to businesses who advertise. And this is really the way that I rank prospects for sales potential, which is you got your low hanging fruit. That's your friend, your family, your fools. These are people you know personally who run a business and either need or are likely to want the skills you're developing. So they're friends, family, and fools who own a business, right? That are actively advertising, right? So this could be friends or family who own a business or businesses that you regularly support that are actively advertising using services like Google Ads, Thumbtack. These are going to be the easiest opportunities. And again, if you're wondering like, what do I say? I'm going to show you that in the what to say part, some basic scripting for you to get into the door. Okay. Number 2 is the right branch leads. These are people who who own a business, but aren't actively looking for services. Again, you're going to have a better sales potential because you already know them. They're in your 250, and they're going to be open to hearing you out. Like they're going to be much more, people that know you are going to be much more likely to hear you out. Right. And these are, your friends, acquaintances who own a business, or even friends that like it's that 6 degrees of, what's his name? Francis Bacon or Sam Bacon or something like that, right? Kevin Bacon, right? It's those 6 degrees where it might not be the exact person, but like, hey, I'm friends with this person. He knows someone who's an insurance agent, right? That needs help, right? So these are the businesses that are people either 1 degree of separation or 2, where, they're not yet advertising, but they're open to testing out your lead gen services, your email marketing services, whatever you decide is that bag of trick that you're going to develop for them. So these prospects need a bit more effort, but again, it's going to be a lot easier than going completely cold, which is what most people do. They're like, okay, I want to start a business. Let me run ads. Let me do cold email. Not to say that doesn't work. It's got a time and place. I'll show you where that is. Now, these are the treetop leads. Again, going with the low-hanging fruits, easy to pick. Your right branches, and these are the treetops, a little bit higher. So these are business owners you don't know, but are actively seeking services like yours. So if you're going to do some manual prospecting to start, right, you really do want to pick the ones that are most likely. So these are going to be companies that are already using Google Ads, Craigslist, Angie's List, Thumbtacks, Home Advisor. If you don't know what these platforms are, look them up. There are places that local businesses pay to be on in order to generate leads. So this represents opportunities that are visible and attainable, but require climbing and more effort to get them, right? Because there's no trust. You don't know them. You don't have an in through someone who can say, oh, I went to school with him. He's a great guy. He's doing this now. Like there's that trust, that cold trust has to be built, which again, doesn't mean you can't do that. It's actually how you're going to scale eventually to the bigger numbers. But if you're just starting out, if you're brand new, you want to go for the easy stuff where you don't need to be, like a master salesman, like super smooth or anything like that. You have to handle objections, have to, build rapport, and all that, right? So that's treetop leads. Then we got high peaks, right? These are business owners who don't know, don't know you, you don't know, who are actively seeking your services but could benefit from them. They aren't actively seeking services, but they could benefit from them. So these are businesses that are, without a website. They might be low in the search engine rankings. Like if you're selling SEO, they might be businesses that you look up online. They're not advertising. They're not doing email marketing. They're not doing much of anything, right? These are the most challenging prospects. Doesn't mean that they're not a gold mine. It just means that they require significantly more effort and skill to not only convert, reach, retain, all of that, right? So we always want to start. We want to make our jobs easy, especially if you're brand new to this. Like start with the low-hanging fruit, move to the right branch, treetop. And again, I create a whole course on just how to do more customized outreach to these treetop leads. And then we got, obviously high peaks, which is actually the case study that's going on. Again, it's a more advanced training that I give you later on in this course. That's me going really right after the high peaks, because that's really how you scale to, over $100,000 a month, right? But again, it's not what I would do if I was trying to make my first $5,000, my first $10,000, right? And it's not what I did to make my first $10,000. So, I'm going to show you how to do all three. Again, keep in mind the case study at the end is going to show you how to do the high peaks. Now, here are the 7 steps to strike it rich prospecting, and it says strike it rich. So bear in mind, I'm not going to fix that. So it's not strike it rich, it's strike it rich. So step 1 is we want to tap into your 250 network, right? Friends, family, and fool. Step 2 is you want to look where you spend money. Step 3 is what I call, actually not what I call, so I'll give credit where credit's due. My buddy Dan, who runs a program for local marketers, also had a very successful local business. He calls this getting a license to pitch, and I love that, so I'll give credit to where credit's due. Step 4 is to be a joiner. Step 5 is to attend networking events and seminars. Step 6 is joint venture and host parasite relationships. And step 7 is to target business owners who are advertising, right? So let's go through these 7 steps one by one. Now, step 1, very simple. The concept is to reach out people who you know, learn where they work, and then this can give you a warm lead and introduction to decision makers. So again, it's using that Kevin Bacon 6 degrees of separation. But again, I'll give you scripting for it later in the what to say part. But this is just to know who to say it to, who to target, right? Why it works is personal connections creates an entry point, allowing for a softer introduction to potential clients. And the action item that I want you to do is go through your contacts, social media, go through your Facebook friends list, your phone book, right? Go through and identify anyone who owns a local business, who works for a local business. And then what you're going to do is you're going to reach out and you're going to ask about their marketing needs, right? So that's number 1. Action step, go do that. Pause the video, look through your phone, jot down who you know, friends, family, fools, who either works for a small business or owns a small business, or has a buddy who's in a small business, right? So anyone you've met at a party, anything like that, where there'd be an easy intro, you want to start there. Then step 2 is start where you spend money. So The concept is begin prospecting with businesses that you already patronize, already do business with, right? So why it works is you're a customer. You build relationships and trust. You use these connections to open doors, even if the business itself isn't the perfect client. And this is really how my wife built up her part-time side hustle income, right? Where she gets her nails done, they're a client. Where she got her eyebrows done, they're a client. Where she gets her hair done, they're a client. Okay. So by just being there, and again, I've helped out the Luigi who cuts my hair with his marketing, giving him tips, giving him advice. And again, it doesn't always have to turn into business. Like our pool cleaner guy, we bartered services. I just had a client. They had a landscaping design project in their backyard, and they're spending money on it anyway. They get to the conversation of here's what you do. They bartered for that work done. That's $4,000 of landscape design was bartered for work to help them with their website, which again, is another skill set that you could do. It's another skill set that I train on. But in this course, you could help them with their social media marketing. You could help them with their email marketing, right? You could run ads for them. You could barter those services. And yeah, I'll just leave it at that. So, again, it's not cold. You're not cold. And again, when you're spending money, you do kind of have, which we'll cover next, like you do have a license to pitch, right? They're not going to be rude. It often comes up like, what do you do, right? So action item is look over the recent expenses for local services you've hired. It could be landscaping, home repairs. It could be even a restaurant you go to. It always comes up. I'm not looking to work with real estate agents, but we go to Chinese food every Friday and I pick up the food, and it's kind of like, my dad always did it growing up. So I do it now with my wife. So we get Chinese food on a Friday. I know the lady, and, it came up. I'm just nice to her, by the way. I get employee discounts there, which is another big thing. Be nice to people, right? Go out there, be nice to people, talk to people, right? There's a lot. Once you have these skills, like there is money all around and people that need help with this. So again, this is not a client that I landed, but it came up like, what do you do? And she's like, oh, my brother's a real estate agent, right? If I was just starting out, it was years ago, I've had real estate agents where I've done their lead capture for them I've done their follow-ups I've done, built out, marketing assets for them way back in the day. So, I'm not looking for that work now, but when I was looking for it, bang, that's a door open, right? So the action item, look over your recent expenses. And, these contacts can lead to new prospects. Look at anyone who's coming to your house to do work. Look at any place you go, become a regular at a restaurant, right? Get to know the people there. Not only is it more fun, you get discounts and all that stuff when you're nice, and it's good to know people, right? So, step 3, and again, you don't need to be super like extroverted, right? So step 3 is license to pitch. And again, I'll give credit where credit's due. Learn this, Dan Klein always uses this phrase, and I love it. Get a license to pitch, which is, like a lot of people that do help small businesses always complain, oh, they're so cheap, right? Like, don't be cheap yourself, right? Go and look at all the tasks that you've been putting off, right? Or a market you want to get into, and then hire them. Now you have, again, a license to pitch, right? So hire a local business, and preferably, if you're smart about this, you're going to do it through advertising. So don't choose like the random guy that you drive past. Choose the guy that is advertising on Google. Choose the guy that go to Thumbtack, go to Angie's List and say, hey, I need this type of work done. That way, when you hire that person, they're actually paying for leads already. Because someone who's a buyer is a buyer is a buyer. So if you get that person over to your house and they're buying shared leads off of Thumbtack, you think they might be willing, especially when you get a license to pitch, if they ask you what you do, hey, actually, right? I get qualified exclusive leads for people just like you, right? And then you could bring it up like, would you be open to, no pressure at all, but would you would you want to sit down? I could walk you through some things to help you, right? And if it makes sense, we could talk about what I do. If not, that's cool too, right? Again, you could be very zero pressures to strike up conversations about their marketing leads during your interactions, right? I've done this with my pool guy. Again, my wife does it more than I do because she likes this stuff. I like this stuff too, but I'm always going for kind of bigger deals and stuff like that, which we'll cover later. But strike up a conversation, ask them what they do, and then take it from there, right? And again, if you're wondering about the scripting, I'm going to give that to you coming up. So why it works, again, gives you a license to pitch using a real need as an opening for a natural conversation. So if you got stuff, if you need your carpets cleaned, right? Great. You get a carpet cleaner in from Thumbtack, from whatever, and now you can see, hey, are they doing their email marketing? Are they even following up? What's their social media look like? Are they running ads? All that good stuff. So choose a task, carpet cleaning that you've delayed, hire someone, right? Have a chat with them when they're at your house, and then see if they could benefit from your marketing services, right? So again, there's Angie, which used to be Home Advisor. I think they've combined now, but there's Thumbtack, Porch. Like if you want interior design work done, like go to House, next door, right? Very, very simple. Step 4, be a joiner, right? Join a club, start a new hobby, participate in a community projects. Again, this is something that I did when I was starting out. I did Taekwondo. I was, looking at the different churches. Like they didn't let me in, but I tried to join I didn't try to join, but I went in. I might have joined, but I went to the Freemason place in Boston, Massachusetts, right? I was like, what clubs can I get into? What community projects can I get into? I've had students that have, joined their local BNI, and that alone, by learning these skills and just meeting in networking spots, joining the local BNI, getting to $10,000 a month. So concept, engage in social activities and community projects to build relationships and expand your prospecting lists in a relaxed environment. Like, here's why it works, right? Shared interests create natural connections. So if you're like, this is a good time too to step away from business and do stuff that's fun. Join a club, take up a new hobby, right? And then in this shared thing, like biggest thing, like don't be weird, right? Like when I joined these things back in the day to get clients, I read the book Never Eat Alone, which is a great book, by the way. But like, don't be weird. Don't be like, oh yeah, I'm signed up for a jujitsu class and like, I'm here to be a weirdo and like, I'm here to get clients, like be needy. Like, no, just do what you're going to naturally do. It always comes up. Like, what is it that you do? I'll give you the scripting for what to say, and then it will lead naturally, right? So this is lifestyle prospecting, as one of my clients, Sarah, calls it, right? So clubs and community groups often include business owners and decision makers who need your services, right? Action item. Join a local club or hobby, Toastmasters, BNI. You could join the local yacht club or volunteer. I volunteered back in the day at a yacht club in Boston. I forget the name of it now, but I was actually on one of the yacht races, right? With all these like rich people, and nothing came out of it, but like it's just being out there. I learned things from it, right? So again, join a local club or a hobby group, right? Volunteer for community events or participate in activities like fitness classes, gardening groups, church groups, or meetup groups in an organic setting. Now, this is the big one. This is really the one that I use to get to my first 6 figures, which is attend networking events and seminars, which is, attend local networking events, meetups, or business expos and connect with your target market. Why it works? Again, like if you go to a seminar, your right prospects are there. If you go to networking events, that the right prospects are there, and attendees are looking to expand their network and make them open for new opportunities. So, this is actually how I made my first 6 figures. I literally would just go to I would go to ClickFunnels, the funnel hacking live events when they first started. I went to the Dan Kennedy Info Summit every year. I went to the Dan Kennedy Super Conference every year back when he was doing it. Any event, I would have any event in Boston, even if I didn't pay, I'd hang out outside. I used to go to the Boston SEO meetup. HubSpot would do free events when I lived in Boston. I would go there, and it's really like, find local meetups, find Chamber of Commerce, industry seminars, engage with the attendees. And again, I'll just show you here. This is literally all I had. So we're going to go over that in a second. But if I go to MikeMarinConsulting.com, right? This is the Wayback Machine. It shows all. So back in 2011 was when I was doing this. So if we look at my old website, right? Actually, let's go November 28, 2011. This is essentially all that I did. I wish it showed how it looked, but I made this back in the day, 2011, introducing Mike Marin Consulting, right? I basically put a few blog articles, right? This is actually a website critique. I don't know where, I guess this was Ruffle, like before even here, but essentially, like, and this is you don't need to do this. Like I had a business card that basically said I did everything. I was like 22 years old. I was going around Boston, going to different meetups. I actually met Jim Peak, I think, at the SEO meetup, right? I would do consultations for free or whatever. But essentially, again, like I had a basic website, nothing special, pretty embarrassing. A few, like I read books on copywriting, so I was able to say, what is advertising, right? I had a list of services, which, let's see what we have here, like magic profit website, $195. Like I said, I build an SEO site, do SEO and PPC, right? Whole enchilada. I think there's some more, but copywriting here, I believe I wrote a sales letter right here. Oh my God, look at that picture. So I said, like, who else wants to attract more clients? And I wrote a sales letter basically selling myself, saying I studied all these people, which I did. I studied the old masters. I actually read all of the books from Gary Halbert's 30-day, it's like hands-on experience, 30 days to become 30 days hands-on experience, right? So, I create an asset for your company, right? I was talking about marketing assets back then, even before, AI, right? And again, attention savvy business owner, right? This was, this is all really, really bad. I put some samples on here, right? Again, this was a real estate niche I was in. I had a contact there, and so pop here, like you go to another one. Anyway, let's go back to the presentation. And all I did was, again, go around. I would meet up, and I had read one book on selling, which is Spin Selling, which is a pretty good book. And I had a thing called the One-Page Proposal, which is another book, right? And I would go and I'd basically say, hey, I've studied all these things, right? It was the worst sales process ever. And I'd say, I read some books on PPC, which was newer at the time, right? And I would walk them through the changes they would make based off good examples, based off the books that I made, and I would teach them. Like it was no sales, and then I'd build out a plan, and then I would say, what do you think of the plan? They'd be like, well, that's pretty good. Like, I'm a 55-year-old business owner. Like, I don't know about this internet stuff. I was 22 years old. And then I would literally, my closing line would be, well, would you like me to help you with implement that? Right? And it was like, that was it. And if they said yes, I'd say, okay, cool. Let me send you a proposal. And then I'd go back. I sent a proposal for $1,000, $3,000, $5,000. And that was me at 22 years old. Like no sales skills. Again, you could do the same process today. Let me get back to here. So that's step 5. Step 6 is joint ventures and host-parasite relationships. This is a big J. Abraham concept. So the concept is partner with businesses that serve the same audience but don't directly compete with you. So use their connections to get referrals and access to their customer base. Why it works? Established business owners already have trusted relationships with their customers. Partnering with them allows you to leverage that trust and reach a pre-qualified audience. So the action items for here is identify complementary businesses, and I'll give you some scripting for this. So like print shop, supplier services, and propose joint ventures as a co-branded promotion, referral partnerships, or bundle of services. So this could be as simple as, there's a lot of businesses that have a preferred referral list, right? It's another good way to get a back door into some of these businesses. Okay, so step 7, right, is target business owners who are already advertising. So the concept is business owners that advertise are already spending money on customer acquisition, making them open to marketing solutions. Why it works? Advertisers understand the value of investment and will likely see the benefit of professional marketing or professional help. Like some people just aren't willing to pay for help in business, right? So the action item, if you are going to go out onesie twosies, right, and do some prospecting, right, you at least want to find the ones that are spending money on advertising, right? And that's, again, if you're not going to use the more advanced stuff, like doing cold email, which you kind of have you go completely cold, right? So which I'm going to show you the case study for that, right? That's really the way that you scale. Once you a bit more like you got an understanding, you know how to sell, you got a few clients, then go cold. That's how you go from 10 to 100 grand a month. Okay. So, look at the coupon magazines, Valpak, direct mail, door hangers, right? Yellow Pages, Yelp, all of them. These are prime prospects for your service. Step 8 is go cold and scale. So I've left this as the last step, which is where everyone wants to go first, right? I have a program called Cold to Sold. Like that's what people want. They want to learn how to do this, right? And really, I love going cold, by the way. I've made millions of dollars going cold, but when you're just starting out, you want to start with the first 7. But the concept of going cold is you reach out by leveraging cold outreach, scalable marketing strategies like ads, email campaigns, direct mail. And why it works is cold allows you to reach a much larger audience beyond your immediate network, right? The TAM is bigger. The target addressable market is much bigger. And with a focused approach, these scalable strategies can generate consistent leads and establish you as an authority in your niche. So the active action items is once you've done the first 7, again, cold email works very good. Running ads works very good. Direct mail, one of my favorite for small business prospecting. Your website and SEO, some of the top I'm in a lot of different courses. Some of the top people that sell SEO services, they get a majority of their leads by doing SEO themselves, right? They practice what they preach and they attract inbound leads. Content marketing, again, one of my favorite. And then information products. When I was doing email copywriting, I launched a program on the Warrior Forum called the Easy Email Cash System, kind of a ridiculous name. You could Google that on the Warrior Forum, Easy Email Cash System, Mike Marin. It will come up, right? But that was to establish me as an authority. It was a $7 product that, again, someone could buy, and then I would sell them email copywriting services for $3,000. That allowed me to have someone buy my cheap product, establish authority, establish trust through the information products are some of my favorite things to do. Establish authority, establish trust, and now they go through the information product, right? You have a cold lead. Now they're warm. They see the value. You've now taught. You have the authority. And at the end of the course, it says, hey, this is something that I can do for you. And I'm actually taking on, X number of clients. If you want, reach out, right? And that now turns it into a sale, right? And by combining these strategies, you can really go big and create a consistent pipeline of prospects and scale your business efficiently. So that is who to say it to. Notice how we didn't start with cold, where everyone starts. We start with the law of 250 and we work our way down. Now, what to say? So couple key principles, right? Principle 1, right? Especially when it comes to networking, your warm network is don't be weird. Right? Just don't be a weirdo. No attachments to the outcome. Don't be needy. The biggest thing you can mess up, and I see them, I go to networking events all the time. It's they're there with their rehearsed script, networking script, and you could tell they're there to get a client. They're so attached to the outcome. They're needy. And those people are the ones that do the worst, right? Principle 2 is be a go-giver first. You can't ever really go wrong by giving first. It's a principle that I use in business. I always want to give first. And really, it's you want to be thinking instead of how can I push my agency, what can I give and offer to others? Instead of how can I get and keep attention on myself, how can I help others be successful? Instead of what can I say to really impress them? It's how do I start a friendly conversation with them? And you want to share who you know and what you know, right? So you actually can't mess this up if you put in the time to study, right? Which very few people do because they're looking for a quick way to make money. If you put in the time to learn the skills that we're teaching you, you are going to be so far ahead of everyone else. If you put the work in, there's going to be one of you and a lot of them. And the knowledge you have is going to be extremely valuable. So when you go to these events, you actually don't need a script. I didn't have a script when I made my first 6 figures. I wasn't very good at sales when I made my first 6 figures online. What I did do was I wasn't weird. I was out. I was mingling. I was studying like a machine, and I was sharing what I know and who I know. And that's essentially what I was doing. And I was really trying to help people for free. And that was naturally leading to them wanting to give me money, right? So principle 3 is be conversational and natural, right? You don't want to be scripted. You have to be fluent, right? I would rather you have no script and have the intention of I'm just going to go and I'm going to help these people. I just, let me set up an email campaign for you. Let me do this and then use that, get a testimonial, and then use that as proof of people that you've helped. Go out, help people, be a go-giver. Great book, by the way, called The Go-Giver. I think everyone should read that book. So again, be conversational, be natural, don't be weird. And that's the framework. So now that's the principles. And again, I'd rather have that than you try to memorize all these scripts. So the biggest thing, right? I'm going to give you the short framework, which is going to massively help you. Like, big thing, if you're just out there being natural, letting people know what you do, you can even say, like, I'm a digital marketer. And just by saying that and actively trying to help people, like, oh, let's go, let me, like, yeah, I'll look at your Facebook ads, right? I'll help you with that, right? In fact, one of the deals, and I still do this all the time, I still get deals from friends. We run ads for a gym in California. That's a buddy of mine that came in through a referral, right? I do stuff in the insurance space. The way that I got into that market was I had a buddy, and he essentially was like, we were drinking at the Wynn. I live in Las Vegas now, and he was like, how's business? I was like, good. I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, well, I'm doing this new thing with insurance. And then he's like, you do Facebook ads, right? And I go, yeah. And then we got into chatting of, I said, hey man, why don't I, let's catch up. We'll grab a coffee. I'll come over to your house. We'll sit in front of your computer. He was telling me he was buying leads from a competitor. I was like, well, look at them. Basically, I just spent, an hour, 2 hours at his house, chilling with a buddy, and really just helping him. Like, we built out his campaign using the skills that I teach you guys here. And we found who he was buying from leads. So I was like, we'll cut your lead cost in half, right? Knowing what you're doing. And then I was like, why don't we do this? If it works for you, then why don't you go out? And he's like, I'll sell everyone in my company. And that's exactly what we did. So he was like the bird dog for my agency, going out, getting deals. And that's, that right there is how you guys can create a 6-figure income based off of that, right? So again, it was helping first. Use him as a case study, use him as proof, and then have him go out, right? There's so many opportunities like this, guys. So instead of, like, the biggest thing to change though is instead of using like use I help to frame your introduction. So instead of saying like, I'm a digital marketer, which will still work if you have your head in the right space, right? I help small businesses in blank location to solve this specific problem. So like in person, it would be like, nice to meet you, Mike. What do you do? I'm a small business advisor. I help small business owners get more customers using AI. I help small business owners get more customers using social media marketing, right? Oh, that's interesting. My cousin has a hair salon. Can you help her? Cool. Tell me a bit about what she does and what kind of support she needs. And bang, you're off to the races. Like, it's as simple as that. I help this person, target market, solve this problem using this technique, right? So for all of you guys, you could say, I help small business owners get more customers using AI. I help small business owners get more customers using AI-powered email marketing assets. Oh, what's that? Well, we're able to generate most, and then you could always expand it, right? Start to teach, right? So again, like, you don't need to be smooth with this. So if they're interested, right? Oh, like if they're interested, like this was an example where they're like, oh, my cousin has said, if they're interested, you always can ask like, okay, well, what challenge are you currently facing? And then if they're like, yeah, we just, we're struggling to fill the mats. We're a jiu-jitsu studio. This is the best line. I learned this from Kevin Nations. Wow. That's all you say. Wow. Look at them. Wow. Ask what challenge they're facing. Wow. Okay. And then after discussing their challenges, suggest, this is the magical close, right? I'd love to talk. It sounds like I can help you. I'm not sure if it sounds like I can help you. I'm not 100% positive I can, right? Always like to use softeners. I'd love to talk, why don't we do this? Why don't we set up a 45-minute Zoom session? We'll jump on, and I can walk you through some strategies of how we could fix that, how we could potentially fix that. That's it. That's the magic. Love to talk more about how I can help you. Can we set up a 45-minute strategy session, right? That's like, you could be as simple as that, right? I always go for more of like a zero resistance, David Sandler style approach, right? Sandler sales, good training. If it would be helpful, like we could set up a quick time to chat, no pressure at all. Just see if there's anything that might be useful for you, right? Like, when would be a good time? Like, would that make sense? And then they respond, yeah, that'd be great. Cool. Like, well, let's connect this week. Let's jump on Zoom. Like, what's your diary looking like? What's your calendar looking like? And then bang, you're off to the races. Like you got an appointment, a meaningful conversation, right? And next training, we'll cover how do you conduct those trainings. So medium framework, right? Let me just pull this up. This is where it gets a little bit more in depth. But so this is this will be below, right? Zero resistance prospecting's sample. So what you're gonna do again is if you're at a networking event like version 1. Hi, I'm Mike. How do you know Steve? Let the conversation flow naturally. Like, don't be weird. If it's a hobby, it's a family gathering, networking, whatever, right? Like, you're going to do this stuff while you're out. After they've shared, like, and this was like for a med spa, right? Like, okay, hey, like, well, we run a nail salon. Okay, what's the one of the biggest challenges that you guys are facing right now? Like, just out of curiosity, like, that's the question. Opens it up, right? Transition to their business challenge. So you start with a friendly conversation, build rapport, transition to a business challenge, right? There's even some more advanced ways to do this, which we're not going to cover here, but this for now is fine, right? And then like if you're not sure if they own the business, you could say, are you involved in the business side of the med spa or do you have an interest in that kind of thing, right? And then from there, you do your mini 30-second commercial. So if they mention a challenge, you could say, wow, or you say, hey, wow. Actually, I hear that a lot. I actually work with med spas to improve their online presence, right? Specifically their social media so they can reach more clients. A lot of owners I speak to mention that they're frustrated. And then you mention their challenge. They're frustrated that they post a lot and they get no reach and they get no clients from their social media stuff. And they look at their competitors and they know that they're getting more engagement. They have more followers. It looks better, right? So, and then just say like, if they are curious, continue with something like this. I'm not sure if what I would do would help, but I've noticed that a few small tweaks in a content strategy can make a huge difference as far as like visibility and engagement and understanding the algorithm. Like it's not totally intuitive. And then you could casually suggest something later. Like, so if it would be helpful, we could set up a quick time to chat this week. No pressure at all. Just want to see if there's anything that might be useful for you. Right. And then you let them decide. Like you don't need to beg for business. Like once you know these skills, you're going to tell right then and there if they're excited. Like if they're like, yeah, absolutely. That'd be great. Cool. Well, what's your diary looking like this week? Right. Done. If they're like, don't seem interested, you just move on. Zero pressure, zero resistance prospecting here. Right. You could always say, I'll shoot you my info. If it sounds interesting, just let me know if you want to connect. Otherwise, no worries at all. Keep it light. Let them decide. I'm always happy to chat ideas and shared what I've learned working with other med spas. No obligation. Just let me know if this is something you want to explore, right? So again, this is like a Pilates example, right? So start with a friendly conversation. Hey, what brings you to this event? Hey, I'm curious. Like, how'd you get into whatever business you're in, right? Great networking opener. Cool. Like if you're at a chiropractic convention, hey, I'm curious, how'd you get into chiropractic? Like business owners will talk forever about that. Like everyone wants to tell their story of how they started, right? And then let the conversation flow naturally. Then you transition to a business challenge. It's always interesting hearing about how businesses like yours grow. What's your biggest focus recently? Is it getting new clients? Like keeping current members? Like what is that you're working on? Like, boom. Then they talk about that. I'm like, what's been your biggest challenge? Bringing on new customers, bringing on new clients. And then if they mention a challenge, you could say, wow, that's the beginner version, right? If not, you can say that's a big one. I've spoken to other studio owners who've mentioned similar things. How's it going with email outreach, whatever, filling classes, right? Again, this is like a brief outline to give you stuff to say, right? Introduce what you do in a natural way. So, if it comes up, he's like, so what do you do? Well, actually, I work with Pilates studios just like yours. We do their email marketing and help make it more effective. The idea is to keep their members engaged, fill the classes, and even attract new clients without them feeling, overwhelmed. So we basically take it off the plate, right? Most studio owners I talk to tell me they don't have enough time to focus on email marketing, or they just don't study it, right? That's like all we do. Just out of curiosity, like how often do you email your current prospects and current members, right? Get them talking. That's kind of a setup question. And then from there, Oh, you only follow up. Wow, you don't have automated follow. Wow, you don't have a CRM. Well, hey, I mean, if this is something that you've been like maybe had on the back burner or something that you've been thinking about doing, I'd be happy to kind of just share like what the best practices are, how that would look, kind of like what we've done for other studios, how we've been able to follow up and double their revenue or whatever. I'm happy to share some of the ideas for you. Would it make sense for us to connect this week? No pressure. We could jump on Zoom and I could show you like what to implement in your business. And if you want to do it cool, we can help you implement it. If not, that's cool too. I'm more than happy to jump on, right? Done, right? Right? Again, if they're like, no, I don't want to talk, great. If they do want to talk, you move it to that. So that's pretty much like the general scripting. And again, if you want to like change the scripting, what's really cool is you could go here, right? And then you just say this, change this script for selling so the example is you are prospecting for, let's call it like a tanning salon and doing email and doing paid Facebook ads, and then keep it Sandler style. Right? And then watch. You can start to see it'll throw it out there. Right? I actually help businesses like tanning salons get more customers through Facebook paid ads. The goal is to make sure salons stay fully booked, attract new customers. It's got to give you the languaging, which is really nice. Most salon owners I've talked to told me they either aren't sure how to stand out on Facebook or they don't have time to figure out what works best. Like, how are you currently finding new customers? Are you guys using Facebook ads at all? Right? Bang! You're in. Right? So like you could change this again, like this is a little bit more advanced, right? It's more like David Sandler-ish style, which I really like the way that they do it. But really you could always just do the short framework, right? That's all I did when I was first starting out. So that's really what to say. And again, let's go back here. When asking for referrals, script, very simple. Like ask existing clients or people that you know. Like if you start talking, like, use the phrasing, like who else do you know that has this challenge and how can I help them? Right? That's it. Ask for referrals and you'll get them. So that's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you guys got a ton of value out of this prospecting training. Again, we covered who to target, what to say exactly, the basics, and who to say it to. So with that said, the action step's very simple. Go through this training again if you need to and go take action. I had a pleasure building this training for you, and I'll see you in the next video.